Hello and welcome to our daily news program coming to you here on Canal Algérie. Coming up next. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, terminates the functions of the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohamed Abdelhafid Hani, and appoints Mohamed Habib Zahana as the new Minister of Transport. In a letter on the occasion of the International Solidarity Day with the Palestinian people, the President of the Republic states that Algeria will remain loyal to its commitment to supporting the causes of liberation and will spare no effort to support the resistance of the Palestinian people. The President of the Republic receives the new Secretary General of the National Liberation Front Party, Abdelkarim Ben Mbarak, at the latter's request. The Army General Seychin Geriha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, receives Algeria's rotating presidency of the Council of Chiefs of Staff Committee and the extraordinary session of the Council of Chiefs of Staff of the CEMOC member countries focuses on the coordination of efforts to confront security challenges in the region. More than 16,000 Palestinians were killed and 35,000 injured by the Zionist attacks. The harsh living conditions are barely allowing the people in Gaza to live as the humanitarian aid arriving cannot cover all their needs. Welcome back. First of all, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, decided to terminate the duties of the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohamed Abdelhafid Hani, after consulting the Prime Minister, Nadir Al-Arbawi. The President appointed Youssef Sharfa as new Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development and appointed as well Mohamed Habib Zahana as Minister of Transport. And now to this message of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, on the eve of the International Day for Solidarity with the Palestinian people, which states the following. Today, we celebrate the International Day for Solidarity with the Palestinian people. In a particular and painful circumstances marked by the barbaric occupiers' aggression on the Gaza Strip and the occupied territories. On this occasion, we reaffirm Algeria's constant commitment to support the legitimate struggle of the Palestinian people and their just cause to recover all their rights, most importantly, the right to the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with Al-Quds as its capital, with the borders of June 4, 1967, in accordance with the UN resolutions. We bow with respect to the heavy sacrifices of the Palestinian people and their suffering from the ordeals that targeted their land, their unity and their holy places, and we pay tribute to this resilient people despite all the odious violations they have faced and the desperate attempts to ignore its cause and to abort the foundations on which any solution to end the occupation and the tragedy of the Palestinian people. This day of solidarity comes at a time when the Palestinian people in all parts of their land, particularly in the Gaza Strip, face a horrific criminal aggression aimed at ethnically eliminate them. The Zionist occupation, which has failed to extinguish the flame of the struggle in the heart of these people, is attempting this time by committing heinous crimes against humanity, apartheid and crimes of extermination. It is a situation that adds to the imposed siege on the Gaza Strip and constitutes a perseverance in murder, destruction, provoking famine and despair while undermining the principles of humanity. All of this is at a time when the international community and the specialized bodies of the United Nations are shamefully failing to stop the war machine being unleashed against defenseless people. This puts the onus on us to redouble our efforts to work to ensure that the principles and objectives of the United Nations Charter prevail, to provide the necessary protection for the Palestinian people, to historical injustice against them, and to mobilize immediately to save the peace process, which is at an unprecedented stalemate. This will only be possible if the occupation is compelled to comply with the resolutions of the international legality, to commit itself to respecting the rules of the international law and to move forward in strengthening the legal and diplomatic gains of the Palestinian people, particularly by stepping up efforts to enable Palestine to obtain full membership of the United Nations. On this occasion, I reiterate Algeria's full rejection of all attempts to erase this just cause, whether by imposing the policy of fait accompli, through which the occupation attempts to undermine the identity of the Islamic and Christian holy places in the occupied territories, or to change their demographic composition, attempts the fate of which and of all the past historical experiences have confirmed are doomed to disappear. At the end, I would like to stress that Algeria, which has paid a high price to regain its sovereignty and which witnessed 35 years ago the proclamation of the Palestinian state, will remain faithful to its commitment to supporting the causes of liberation and will spare no effort to support the resistance of the Palestinian people until the end of the war, concluded the President of the Republic. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Tuesday the new Secretary General of the National Liberation Front Party, Abdelkarim Bombarek, at the latter's request. In a statement, the Secretary General of the FLN revealed that he had followed the President's advice concerning the reunification of the party's militants and executives. Abdelkarim Bombarek reaffirmed his party's support for the President of the Republic's program. Let's have a listen.
بطلب مني في إطار المشاورات.
First of all, I would like to thank the President of the Republic for granting this interview, which falls within the framework of bilateral consultations. I was honored by this meeting, where we addressed several current issues prevalent on the international scene. We noticed that the President of the Republic has strong determination to serve the cause and the unification of activists of the National Liberation Front and through all supporters of this party. The President of the Republic also expressed his desire to strengthen the internal front and to see this political formation achieve good quantitative results thanks to the scientific competence capable of taking up the light in the future. The political program of our party fits perfectly within the vision of the President of the Republic, and this is the reason why we support this program, which gives particular interest to youth. We also recorded one convergence of view between the action plan of the President of the Republic and the program of our party concerning startups, improvement of purchasing power, as well as unemployment fees and salary increase.
يتقاطع مع برنامج جبهة التحرير الوطني.
And at Algeria's initiative, the proceedings of the extraordinary session of the Council of Chiefs of Staff of the CEMAC member countries was held on Tuesday at the National Circle of the Army in Beni Msous municipality, bringing together Algeria, Mali, Mauritania and Niger. More details with Rani al-Bahri.
This session, which was attended by General of the Army Said Shengriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Brigadier General Moussa Salahu Barmo, Chief of Staff, Nigerian Armed Forces, the current Chairman of the Council of Chiefs of Staff of the country's members of the Joint Operational Staff Committee, Major General Omar Diara, Chief of Staff of the Malian Armed Forces, and Major General Mohammed Al-Mukhtar Sheikh Menni, Chief of Staff of the Mauritanian Land Forces, were allocated to hand over the rotating presidency of the Council between the state of Niger and Algeria. The prevailing security situation in regional area was also discussed and evaluated. At the beginning, the participants observed a minute of silence for the soul of Palestinian martyrs. After opening of the work of this extraordinary session by Brigadier General Moussa Salahu Barmo in his capacity as chairman of the current session of the Council of Chiefs of Staff of the member countries of the Joint Operational Staff Committee. On this occasion, the Army General, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, delivered a speech at the beginning of which he welcomed the guests of Algeria, expressing his thanks to his counterparts, the Chiefs of Staff. The participating delegations agreed to respond to this invitation, highlighting the great interest given by the President of the Republic to this working session and work committee. He also conveyed to the guests a message of brotherhood and friendship from the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, who considers this occasion as an important event for the objective and operational assessment of the security challenges facing our region and for coordinating efforts with all effectiveness and commitment to be able to take the necessary decisions to achieve the security goals set by our countries. In the same context, the Army General praised the high-level framework provided by the Joint Operational Staff Committee in the field of evaluating, exchanging, and directing the necessary steps that would give this important security cooperation mechanism greater quality, effectiveness, and efficiency in performance by adopting applied procedures that impose themselves in this field. He further highlighted that this meeting is being held exceptionally in Algiers to hand over the rotating presidency in keeping with the traditions of this council, as this special session comes after the special session held in Algiers on October 13, 2022, whose clear and specific goal was to ratify and sign the text regulating the committee in order to upgrade the security cooperation and coordinate operations to combat terrorism and transnational organized crimes, besides the understanding that includes the basic law for users of Joint Operational Staff Committee. The Army General finally reiterated the commitment and the determination of the National People's Army to continue combating all the scourges that threaten the region, in coordination with all its partners within the Joint Operational Staff Committee, with the sole goal to unify the efforts and coordinate the interventions, each within his own jurisdiction in his area of responsibility, with the possibility of supporting each other according to available means in order to protect the geographical area and enhance the national security of the countries. This special session also constituted an opportunity for heads of delegations to present their assessments and exchange views regarding the current situation in the region of interest, as well as to share views on the general situation at the regional and international level. At the conclusion of the session, the ceremony of passing the presidency of the Council took place between Brigadier General Musa Salau Barmo, Chief of Staff of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and the Army General Said Shengriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army.
Algeria taken over the rotating presidency of the Council of the Chiefs of Staff of the member countries of the Joint Military Staff Committee of the Sahel region, CEMOC, headquartered in Tamarasset in the 6th Military Region, comes as a continuation of the efforts to coordinate and strengthen security cooperation. The latter is granted a particular interest by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense. This was reflected in the welcome he extended to the Chiefs of the Staff of the Council of the CEMOC member countries on October 13, 2022, at the National Military Circle in Beni Messous amid the extraordinary meeting of the Council of Chiefs of Staff of the CEMOC member countries hosted in Algiers. A new dynamic had been instilled in cooperation and operational coordination between member countries through the confirmation of the text governing this council. Moving on to the parliamentary activity, a unanimous adoption by the members of the Council of the Nation of the new law on the written and electronic press and the law on the audiovisual activity. The vote took place during a plenary session chaired by Salah Goudil in the presence of the Minister of Communication, Mohamed Al-Agab. These two texts aim to adopt the sector and the corporation to the provisions of 2020 and to bring the latest technological developments in the audiovisual media. In his speech amid the voting session on the two draft bills on the written electronic press and the audiovisual activity, the President of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goudil, recalled the legitimacy of the Palestinian resistance fighting for independence and which exposed all the misinformation of the Western media. Despite having some time to catch their breath amid the extended truce, the death toll is still rising. More than 16,000 Palestinians were killed and 35,000 injured by the Zionist attacks since October the 7th. The chaotic living conditions are also worsened by the insufficient aid arriving to Gaza, not able to meet their needs to overcome this human-made catastrophe. The full story with Najah Tayyar.
Ravaged by the Zionist war machine, Gaza Strip is all destroyed buildings surrounding devastated survivors who lost their entire families. Some of the Gazans who could flee from the attacks have taken advantage of these few days of a humanitarian ceasefire to return and take what remains of their homes and neighborhoods.
We
were shocked to see the extent of damage in our neighborhood. Our house is completely destroyed, including my car. Everything is rubbish. Our house is uninhabitable.
Considering the hospitals in the enclave, none have been spared from the bombings, and those that are still receiving the wounded are suffering from lack of fuel. Health facilities in the north of the Strip have been completely out of service for several weeks now. The hospitals in the south of the enclave are nearly disabled and incapable of providing essential medical services due to this drastic situation, given that more than 1.7 million of Gaza's 2.3 million inhabitants have fled to the south of this region. According to the Palestinian health minister, 35,000 wounded people are waiting for the medical assistance. She also pointed out that 470 wounded from Gaza have been treated in Egyptian hospitals so far and hoped to continue coordinating the evacuation of others in the upcoming days. We've just come from the north, where unfortunately there is no medical assistance. This little girl, whose mother is seriously injured, was hit on the head. Thank God we arrived safe and sound despite the arduous journey. Despite the fact that Gaza is under the spotlight, the Zionist army continues to carry out repeated raids on villages and towns in the occupied West Bank, accompanied by arrests and the using of tear gas canisters against Palestinians. More than 3,200 Palestinians have been arrested by the Zionist forces since October 7th. On the fifth day of the humanitarian truce, the Palestinian resistance will release 10 hostages in exchange for 30 Palestinian prisoners.
In a related context, the World Health Organization has warned of the existent risk of people dying in Gaza due to diseases as long as the health system in the Palestinian enclave is not restored quickly after the Zionist aggression. In the long term, we will see more people dying from diseases than from bombing if we fail to get this health system back on its feet, according to the WHO spokeswoman. In other news, the Justice Minister Abdurrashid Tabi received on Tuesday the General Prosecutor of the Russian Federation, Igor Krasnov, accompanied by a delegation. The two parties reviewed cooperation agreements between the two countries and the ways to consolidate them, notably in the justice sector. On the occasion, an agreement protocol was signed between the Algerian Ministry of Justice and the Bureau of the Russian General Prosecutor, which includes several sectors, information and experience exchange in terms of protection and fight against cross-border crimes, money laundering and the crimes of corruption. It also includes cyber crimes and the illegal use of crypto money, in addition to the environmental crimes. The Attorney General of the Russian Federation, Igor Krasnov, and his accompanying delegation paid a visit to the headquarters of the Supreme Court, where he was received by the first President of the Supreme Court, Tahar Ma'mouni, and the Attorney General, Abdelmajid Rahim. On the occasion, he listened to a presentation on the duties and functions of the Supreme Court. After exchanging symbolic gifts, the Attorney General of the Russian Federation, Igor Krasnov, signed the golden record of the Supreme Court. Development, the Minister of Interior, Brahim Marad, received today the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders, Mary Lawler, now on a working visit to Algeria. The meeting was an opportunity to tackle the reality of human rights, notably following the reforms implemented by the President of the Republic via the 2020 Constitutional Amendment. Debates on the 2024 finance bill are still going at the National People's Assembly. After the presentation of the text, deputies affirmed that the project has preserved the social character of the state by providing several measures aiming to maintain the purchasing power of citizens. They also emphasized the need to speed up the digitization in various sectors. This finance law is the most important one since the independence, with several measures to support the purchasing power. The economist Mohamed Ashir was present yesterday in our studio, where he provided further details. Story by Yasin Hamdi.
Algeria is planning the biggest budget of its history for the year 2024, with more than 15,275 billion dinars of spendings, including 18% for public investment. This budget will focus on the social aspect in order to preserve the purchasing power of the Algerian people, with measures to handle the increase in price of essential products.
This finance law will provide specific budgets for the different measures, such as the salaries increase and the thought of career progression in the public sector for 2.8 million workers.
And to support investment and national economy, the government plans in the 2024 finance law project to continue its tax effort.
Taxes were decreased, such as the income tax and also the VAT for some activities, as well as the custom tax for the import of some essential products.
Based on a reference price for the barrel of oil of $60 during the period 2024-2026 and $70 for the estimated price of the barrel of crude oil, the 2024 finance law project expects an economic growth of 4.2%, with $50 billion exports in 2024, and the imports will increase by 7.1%. The economic balance will record a surplus between 2024 and 2026.
And to this good news for the customers of the national air company, Algérie, which launches an exceptional discount, the baggage free for the hold while retaining the 10 kilograms cabin weight. This offer applies to flights between Algeria and France, starting today, running until December 31st of this year. And another nation that is oppressed by an occupation, the Sahrawi people, commemorating this month of November the 13th anniversary of Gdi Music event. Demonstrators in La Ayoun region were violently repressed by the Moroccan occupier. Story by Najah Diyar.
After a period of more than a decade since the Moroccan court sentenced heavy prison terms on the resistance 24 Sahrawi activists, the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has called on Morocco to immediately release the Sahrawi political prisoners of the Gdi Music group who have been arbitrarily deprived of their liberty, and to grant them compensation in accordance with the international law. In its request, the group highlighted the flagrant violations committed against the detainees over the past 13 years, in particular the denial of access to lawyers, confessions obtained under the torture, and the lack of impartiality and independence of the court. The request was appreciated by the families of the detainees, most of whom live in the occupied Western Sahara, far from their children who are being held in the Moroccan prisons thousands of kilometers away. These families will hold a virtual press conference on December 8th to demand the immediate release of their loved ones and the immediate implementation of the working group's decision by the Moroccan occupier. This conference, organized with the League for the Protection of the Sahrawi Political Prisoners in the Moroccan jails and the Geneva Support Group for the Protection and Promotion of Human Rights in the Western Sahara, is supported by several international organizations.
Back to Algeria for the kickoff of the Trek Algeria Trail in Timimon province. Professional athletes and amateurs from all over the world took part in the sporting event with 4 different trails. Report by Sid Ahmed Bouraib, taken up by Yasin Hamdi.
6:30 a.m. The runners take their breakfast, vitamins and energy for their challenge. 9:30, it's kickoff time with the presence of local authorities. The runners reach the first checkpoint in Erzar, a place known for its caves. After a good break, they resume their race. The runners pass through Jnan Qaddour, heading to Jnan al-Mulk. The Algerian Hussein Majen won the 50-kilometer race in 4 hours and 28 minutes, followed by Salah Eddin Zerari and Abdel Basit Sid.
الحمد لله أني تحصلت المرتبة الثانية وإن شاء الله ومازال الخير قدام إن شاء الله.
It was really tough. Thank God I reached the second place.
كان صعيب المرتبة الثانية.
Ça a été vraiment difficile. Au début, vraiment, c'était bien.
The beginning was good. It became very hard. I am used to marathons, but here it's 8 kilometers longer. I am happy with my performance.
70 runners from 15 different countries are taking part to the second edition of the Trek.
And with that, we come to the end of our today's program. Thank you for tuning in and goodbye.